mean, fortunately, I ain't got guns with live rounds on or something like that.
And what do you think is the worst case scenario?
We get overrun.
I haven't found anything from Tommy Robinson at all that's actually racist. It's directed at Tommy Robinson. But I suppose for puberty blockers, we're talking about like 11, 12, that sort of thing. Right, well, I've made it to London. I am just outside Victoria Station. I'm about 15 minutes early, but this should be the start of the rally. I can see police officers, obviously. I can see rally goers, flags, tons and tons of Union Jacks. So we'll try and speak to some people and just see why they're here, see what's going on. You've probably used this poster a few times. He keeps getting arrested.
Yeah.
Do you mind explaining why he's been arrested?
Yeah, well, no, I think it's disgusting. He's been arrested for trumped-up charges, basically. They just didn't want him here.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. He's a threat. He's a threat. He's a threat to the establishment, and they don't like it. And they can't shut him up.
So I watched his documentary, which is obviously the reason that he's
silenced, it's called.
And to me, that just looked like a piece of journalism.
Well, it is.
It really did just look like
He is a journalist, but the only thing is, he's a bloody good journalist, unlike a lot that we got now.
But to be fair, aren't there two separate little furry thing?
That's close enough, yeah.
It's two charges, isn't it? He's at Woolwich Crown Court because he wouldn't give the old Bill his PIN number for his phone under the Terrorism Act.
Yeah,
so that's why he's been arrested. But also there's a contempt of court charge over the film.
The film.
But what I don't understand is that film was shown in the States where there was no jurisdiction. So Tommy really didn't show the film. So I don't understand.
Well, he did. So he did then show it at the last.
Yeah.
The last protest.
It was already out.
Yeah, but what? Yeah, I understand what. Yeah, but it was already. It had already been shown.
It had already been shown. Yeah.
Yes.
So.
So he had nothing to lose then, did he? Because of one of
to be honest,
2 or 3 years of his life, maybe.
To be honest, I think if they couldn't have got him on the film, they would have got him on the phone. So either way, I think he'd still be in. Unfortunately.
Do you think Tommy's a terrorist?
No,
no, he's not far right. He's just right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you back your little furry creature.
It's a microphone, I promise.
Thank
you very much.
I didn't know whether to stroke, give us some sort of milk or stroke it.
No.
Keep safe out there. Watch out for Antifa.
I will keep my eye out for Antifa. They'll be here somewhere.
No, they're in Piccadilly.
So that's it. So Tommy Robinson, a lot of people here have Tommy Robinson, Free Tommy sort of posters, have it on their flags. And the reason that he's been arrested is he made a documentary called Silenced, which is an ironic title because the documentary itself was then silenced. And effectively the documentary was about an incident that happened in the UK. It went to court, the judge ruled that he couldn't show it. He showed it anyway 2 years later. And that's why he's now got a contempt of court charge. Not Tommy's first contempt of court charge, I will say, but this one looks like it's going to carry 2, maybe 3 years in prison just for showing the documentary. To me, I watched the documentary, it just looks like an ordinary piece of journalism. If it's wrong, then people should prove that it's wrong, show that it's wrong, not just suppress the showing of it. But there we go, that's where we are.
I hope Donald Trump gets in, otherwise World War III is going to happen. It's just going to go to shit, mate. But I appreciate you being here.
I think it would be fair to say there's quite a bit of support for Tommy Robinson here today. Right, we're on the march. We're heading towards Parliament. So there's, interestingly, not as many police here as I thought there would be. I saw a few police vans. I've seen a couple of police officers. But I sort of expected the streets to be lined with police, and I haven't really seen that, which is quite surprising. So hopefully everything just passes over peacefully. I didn't really want to get involved in a ruckus. That's a bit more like what I expected to see, sort of police lining the roads. Maybe when we get to where we're going, there'll be more police presence. But yeah, everything looks really peaceful. I'm seeing a lot of veterans. I'm not filming them unless they want to be filmed. But I'm seeing a lot of veterans as well out in support. People wearing their berets, wearing their medals. Yeah, I'm losing my voice, which is really frustrating. Worst day possible to lose your voice, but there we are. What's crazy is when I was at the train station, I thought there weren't that many people, but the crowd is actually enormous. Thousands of people. Biggest crowd I've ever been in. Well, I don't know why we've stopped, but we've been stopped here for maybe 10 minutes or something now. Maybe even close to 15. I'm not really sure what they're waiting for. But people are pretty calm about it. Nobody seems to be too upset.
It's deliberate, isn't it? To frustrate the crowd.
You think it's deliberate?
Well, it could be, to incite the crowd a bit more.
Well,
make it harder. Maybe.
If they're trying to frustrate the crowd, it's not really working. Nobody's really bothered. Yeah, I suppose it depends how long it goes on for, right?
Yeah. Views won't hold together, views won't hold together indefinitely, will they?
No. Yeah, you're right.
We want Tommy out! We want Tommy out!
Are you more or less worried about this rally going awry now that Tommy's been arrested?
I am concerned in one respect because it'll give bad representation, but then again, there is a core feeling, isn't there, amongst, after the end of the day, police they keep us in line. Well, they resort to violence, don't they, at the end of the day? They do.
They do. Yeah.
So, but
I haven't seen any police horses yet,
no,
so
but you know what I mean. So
we'll see how we get on.
Just pure hypocrisy and bullshit in the sense of, they're allowed to have their license to administer violence, aren't they, in essence.
I suppose that is in essence the police's job to an extent. It's just because the police are always going to have to at some point administer violence. It's just how they go about doing that, right?
Or controlled force, or
controlled aggression.
Fortunately, I ain't got guns with live rounds or something like that. But
no, and they shouldn't need them. That's a good thing.
Quote 10cc. Maybe they're carrying rubber bullets.
We've been here for what? 15 minutes, I think, and nobody's that upset. So it's.
I don't think. I'll become a bit more irate as it goes on. You know what I mean? But internally, we're right. Externally, something.
I think
it will be almost like a crowd thing, won't it?
Yeah.
It'll be like an adrenaline rush, like a cavalry charge. Once it starts.
Hopefully not, because we're at the front of it. We're the vanguard. Yeah, I think he will. How do you feel about Tommy being arrested?
It's trumped up, isn't it? It's trumped up.
He did do what they said, which is he released the documentary that he wasn't allowed to.
Yeah, but he didn't do that. But it was released in America.
It was released in America, but then at the last protest, he showed it himself and then put it on his Twitter.
Yeah, sure. But if you've got to go down for reporting the truth, what's it come to?
At the
end of the day, if your police structure that strong, you could be nailed to a cross and still get down off there and still be the same person, wouldn't you? Because you can't change the ideology of belief. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For me, I think if someone thinks the documentary was false, then they should allow it to be released and then try and prove it false.
Yeah, true.
Not suppress the documentary, which actually in many ways just looks a bit suspicious.
It does.
Right? Because, and if it was just Tommy if it was just Tommy saying these things and he had no evidence, then I would say maybe it is libel and it should have been suppressed. But because he presented so much evidence that he'd gone through, the recordings, the school records and everything else.
What makes a criminal offence? Still freedom of speech.
So that's kind of why I'm here, because I don't understand. I understand that he did break the court order, but I don't understand why the court order was put in place. Is my thinking.
It's only what we shout out like Starmer did at Labour conference. Release the sausages.
I did see Release the Sausages. I made a video about Release the Sausages because that's about the worst. Like when you're talking about people who've been in captivity for over a year and you call them sausages. But I understand it was just a slip of the tongue. But it is pretty embarrassing. He's also called Rishi Sunak the Prime Minister about 10 times since he's been Prime Minister, which is pretty embarrassing.
And they say stop the boats, have they? Any of them? You know, I have to prove my nationality when I go to work now. You take a passport in.
Really?
And I'm indigenous person to the country.
Yeah.
Why have I got to do that then? Because consecutive governments have never employed an ID system.
Yeah.
Now, that's not my fault.
Do you think an ID system would be good? That's quite controversial, isn't it?
It is, because a passport's not ID. That's a tool to allow you to leave the country, no more than a driving licence is.
It is, but they do both count as ID.
No. They're both called.
But there are people in this country that have no passport and no driving licence.
That's correct.
If you're an 18-year-old lad who's never left the country and lived in Camden for his whole life, you might not have a passport and you might not have a driving licence. Yeah.
Not to have an ID system. Also, it's a cheap way of getting a census of the people. And you pay £100 to prove who you are, like you do your passport.
True.
And both of them are just tools. One's to leave the country and one's to drive. I can't leave the country just on a driving licence.
No, you can't.
No, I can just drive a car on a passport.
No, but they are separate. They are separate documents. Yeah, they are tools. You're right.
Because they're called that, passport.
So if you were Prime Minister, would you bring in like an ID system?
Yeah, because then that would leave the people that are not, who come in illegally, you know, unaccountable, and then you should be able to round them up then better.
We've got Andrew Bridgen, MP, and we've got Mayor Tusi. Interesting.
Let's send them all back to their friendly countries.
Why have you come out today?
Obviously to support the movement. We need to stop the illegal immigration into this country. That's a major concern to me. I've got daughters and grandchildren, so I'm looking ahead. It might not be a massive problem now as people think that it is, although I personally... Cheers, fella.
And what about legal migration as well? Because the illegal migration is, we're told, around 30,000 a year. But the legal migration last year was just under 900,000.
Yeah.
So actually it's 30 times more.
It is.
So how do you feel about that?
Well, a lot of these people that come through the right channels come here to work and do the right thing. And obviously they work in the NHS and other jobs that we need filling. Although I do feel that the unemployment could be brought down by forcing people to actually get back to work, and that should be the priority. But I do understand that we do need some immigration.
I find the NHS argument really interesting because we have, in the UK, loads of straight A students who would like to become doctors, but there's a cap placed on the number of medical student places every year. So even if they have the grades, there won't be a place at medical school for them, and instead we'll just bring doctors in from other countries. So it seems like...
that's just outrageous.
No, I know,
that's outrageous.
It's true. I think the cap is 16,000 places a year. I think that's the number, but the number might be wrong. So we could surely just say, well, actually we'll have 25,000 or 30,000.
I agree.
And then we don't have to bring in...
I agree.
Doctors from other countries, because we could just have our own students doing it.
And those
are students who've worked really hard. They've got straight A's. You know, they might have A-star AA rather than 3 A-stars, but they could probably go on and do the job perfectly well. So
then they've got to come
the NHS
first.
argument not that strong.
Okay, well I didn't know about that side of things, but on here I'm outraged by it. You know, it's got to start. Everything has to start at home. You know, it's not about people come from another country. We're born here. Our parents are born here, and our kids have got to come first. Just, you know, I'm old now, so it doesn't matter about me. I drop dead tomorrow, makes no difference.
You don't look very old.
What is important is my children and my grandchildren.
Yeah, sure.
They're the ones that matter.
And that's what's brought you out.
If we've got people with those qualifications and they're not able to get jobs because we're importing people, that's got to stop.
That is true.
That's it.
Yeah, that's true.
Stop that nonsense. If we have to have an overlap, so get these people up and running, so they're qualified and they've got some experience under their belt, fair enough. We've got to pay the price for that. Sure. But thereafter, stop. Yeah. You know, but the other thing is, of course, we lose a lot of people, doctors, to Australia and other countries.
We do,
which is not helpful. That annoys me a little bit that we've trained them up and then they scarper. But the future, I worry. I'm here because of my children and grandchildren, because I am seriously concerned where we could end up.
And what do you think is the worst case scenario?
We get overrun.
Yeah, sure.
We just simply get overrun. Because in England, we're passive. We don't like, I was thinking about it earlier, we don't really like change that much.
That's true, yeah.
We don't, and we're so passive and easygoing, and, there's a time now that we can't be like that. There's almost a war going on. Almost. And I wouldn't put it on the same level as a war, don't get me wrong, but it's almost, we need a bit of a groundswell. And I think there is groundswell through Middle England. And when you get your average Middle England woman, because I ask a lot of women, how do you feel about stuff? And they're concerned.
Yeah.
So that tells me something. When you get your placid, homely woman going, enough is enough, and we're really worried about all this, that they don't feel able to come out onto the streets, but they are concerned, and that's really important.
Sure. Well, I think some of them are out here. I mean, the crowd's enormous.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, because if we just send them straight back to France is just going to go, okay, we're just going to open the floodgates, and they can all come across.
Sure, yeah.
So the only way is like something like Rwanda. I mean, that was, for me, was a perfect scenario, because you send people back to their own culture, in some respects. And the Eastern Europeans that are coming over, they got a long way to travel back home. And are they going to come back to England or the UK?
Sure.
Well, no, because they're just going to end back up at Rwanda again. They got to travel back. So it was a really good deterrent as well. And Australia's been successful in getting their migrants. They just come straight back.
Well,
we can't do that because of France.
People won't go to Australia anymore because they know they'll just end up on some Australian island in the middle of nowhere, right? Which is obviously not what they want. So do you think that's a solution that could be looked at? It's difficult because on all of those islands, there are people that live there. So and I've been to the Falkland Islands, and I've heard people talking about sending people to the Falkland Islands. And in terms of weather, it's a pretty miserable place.
Yeah, but that's what you want.
But the Falkland Islanders, there's only a couple of thousand of them. They probably wouldn't be too pleased by.
Well, no, they've just found like they're going to pump out 800 million tons of barrels of oil. So they're like, give them some compensation, give them whatever they need, plus some compensation.
I'm with you.
Make them happy days.
There's only 2,000 Falkland Islanders, so we give them £1 million each. It's still.
They're not going to take that, are they?
I think they would.
I think they're.
I've spent
a lot of time with the Falkland Islanders. I think they would take it.
Would they? That's interesting.
Yeah,
well, then there's an option. And could you fence off half the island, for instance?
There's 2 islands. So
well, there you go.
So you could. So there's East and West Falkland.
Yeah. And so you could move one onto this other island, make it nice for them, and stick them on the Bear Island.
You could.
That's lovely weather down there.
It's not. Trust me, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible.
I think it's lovely weather.
There's like 3 trees on the island.
Lovely weather, Falklands.
Oh, is he being arrested? Well, we've been here for about an hour now, maybe even longer. I thought we would just be stopped here for like 5 minutes, but it's taken a bit longer. But everyone's still calm. Nobody's kicking off or anything like that, so yeah, it's all good. Right, we're back on the move. We are back on the move. I'm hearing rumours that Tommy Robinson's actually been released from prison, but I can't see anything about it on his Twitter, so we'll see, or X, I should say. It's only when it's kind of like this that you can get a sense of just how many people are actually here. I can't judge it from up here, but must be 100,000 people. I don't know, I've never seen 100,000 people together at once, so maybe it's not, but it's a lot of people. And now we've arrived just outside the Houses of Parliament, and you can see there's a screen over my shoulder, which is where one of Tommy Robinson's documentaries, I think it's there, will be shown. So this area should just fill up now with countless people. There are stewards attempting to sort of corral the crowd, but it hasn't really worked that well. You've kind of got people splitting up over that way and over here. But again, completely peaceful. I haven't heard or seen anyone getting arrested or any trouble or anything like that. Just, I'll be curious to see how it's reported in the media, in the mainstream sort of media, the BBC and whatever else. But at the moment, perfectly peaceful, no problems. There's so many different flags as well. In front of me, there's some Iranians with the Iranian flag and a large banner to the Prince Crown Prince of Iran, Pavlani. Hopefully I'm not butchering that name, I probably am. But yeah, it's a really diverse crowd. Obviously a lot of English flags, obviously a lot of Union Jacks. There's county flags, not that I recognise them, but there's county flags. There's an Israeli flag, all sorts of flags. And there's a whole array of people as well. So far it's good, nice, calm vibes. Obviously a bit of anger at Keir Starmer, a bit of frustration that Tommy Robinson's in prison, but for the most part, it's good. How shall we extol thee? You're a star, thank you. I recruited a cameraman and I think he did a very good job, hopefully. Yeah, I was at the front, but it was very crowded, so I'm just sort of moving my way through to where there's a little bit more space. You can still hear everything on this fan. Well, they're showing on the 2 screens now. This is like the cheap seats, the back screen, but there's more space. And then the second screen over there, Tommy's latest documentary. Tommy himself obviously isn't here. He's still on remand. We've got the statue of Churchill, and then Houses of Parliament, or Westminster Palace.
And they will try and prod you and provoke you and want a reaction from you. Don't give them what they want. Do not let the mainstream media report lies or one little misdemeanor tomorrow. So all this goes to waste. Look how fucking lovely it is!
But the worse things appear to get, the nearer we are to the end. We're in a dark tunnel, but we're nearer to the light than we are to the beginning, and we must press forward together. The worldwide attack on freedom and liberty we've seen over the last few years.
Well, I'm just here. I've left the rally, mostly because I can't actually hear through the speakers what the documentary is saying. But we're going to go and try and find some of the counter-protesters, the anti-fascists, as they call themselves. And I met a lovely man, a Greek man. We had a long conversation about democracy. He doesn't think we have democracy here. I disagree, but I do agree that it's not a perfect system of democracy. But it should be interesting. Hopefully we can find some counter-protesters. Hopefully they'll be willing to talk to us, maybe not. We'll see. This must be where all the police vans are. So we're just heading to Trafalgar Square. Apparently that's where all the like Antifa, anti-fascist people are. We'll see if we can speak to them, but there's like the whole street is just full of police cars. It's crazy. Well, I'm here at Trafalgar Square and hopefully you can hear the protest behind me. There's not very many people here, to be completely honest. Maybe 100 people. That's pretty much it over my shoulder. So it's quite small. Maybe it's small because Tommy Robinson's already been arrested. Maybe I arrived late and it was busier earlier. I don't know, but there's not too many people here now. I'll be honest, these people, like, I mean, just look at them all, like, covered up their faces and everything. These people are genuinely far more scary than any of the people at the far right rally. This police officer over my shoulder has a like a full-on 1990s camcorder, which is probably not going to make its way onto TikTok for that, I don't think. Probably for, I don't know, if crimes are committed, then they can chase it up later, because I guess why deal with the crime when it's happening? Just wait for 2 weeks later and kick someone's door down. Anyway, I think this is it. I asked one of the organisers, he didn't even want to talk to me, which was so bizarre. But I asked one of the organisers if this was it, and he told me that this is where all of the protesters have kind of converged. So this is it. and it's only like 100 or so people, which I'm really surprised at. I really thought today, because there was the Tommy Robinson rally happening, there would be more people, but no, this is your lot. I'll see if I can speak to some people. Oh no, there are more people. There's loads more people over here. Why, when I spoke to that organiser, did he tell me that was all there was? Because over here you can see all the Palestine flags. That's kind of what I was looking for. I thought there'd at least be a couple of thousand people. Not just 100 people with drums. So yeah, we'll go and check this out and see what's going on over here. Stand up to racism, I see already. It's interesting when you think about it. She's obviously shouting, "The people united will never be defeated," and I just left the Tommy Robinson rally where they were saying, "The people united will never be defeated." So the message is basically the same.
Because that is absolute bollocks. Where were the far right when we saw the Tories plunge women into poverty by introducing the two-child cap? Where were the far right when women's refuge centres were closed because they couldn't get funding? Where were the far right when Metropolitan police officers took pictures next to two dead sisters, Nicole Smallman and Bieber Henry, or when Wayne Couzens murdered Sarah Everett? Where were the far right? Where were the far right when successive governments have essentially made rape prosecution so difficult it's effectively being decriminalised in the UK? Where were the far right? The far right have been relatively successful at doing this.
As a Jewish leader, I am very aware that it was Jews, it was Muslims, it was black.
I see you've got the Chris Cabba sign. I see you've got a sign for Chris Cabba. Would you mind talking about it? You don't have to if you don't want to. Just about what happened to him. Is that okay? Can I see your sign as well?
Justice in Palestine to tackle the super wealthy.
What happened to Chris Cabba?
My understanding is that the police thought that his vehicle had something to do with a firearms robbery or assault earlier in the week, I believe, and then they came to his car and they attacked his car and he ran into one of their cars, I believe.
We will win. Thank you.
Sorry, he was shot. Sorry, okay. He was killed, and the police officer who did it was charged with murder.
He was just acquitted, wasn't he? The police officer.
That's correct.
So I guess there was enough there for an investigation, but they didn't ultimately find the police officer guilty.
Yes, and murder is of course a very hard charge to prove compared to manslaughter.
So you think maybe if they charged the police officer with manslaughter, maybe they would have found him guilty? Maybe?
Sorry.
I don't know enough about the case. Sorry. I don't know enough about the case, really. I know, I watched the video of what happened. I watched the video of the shooting because it was made public the other day. Chris Cabba, he did have a bit of a history, didn't he? If we're honest. I think you've got to separate what happened with his history from what happened in that instant moment. But the police, would you agree the police maybe thought that he could have had a weapon because the vehicle that he was in was used for a shooting 6 days before? The vehicle, they didn't know Chris Cabba was in the vehicle, but his vehicle was linked to a shooting that happened 6 days before Chris Cabba was shot.
I'll have to read it again, but I'm not sure if it was the vehicle or it was saying they identified it as the vehicle and it was a different vehicle. I'm not sure. But I definitely agree with what you said, where the police have to separate anything about a person from when they arrest a person. It doesn't matter if they're the best person or the worst person. Every time they come across someone, the whole point of our justice system really is there's a new trial for each offence someone commits. Sure, you can't just you understand, like, it's just.
Do you think, have you watched the video of the shooting? Obviously it's a bit distressing, but have you watched the video of the shooting?
I've read the description of it on the news, but I haven't seen it.
It's on YouTube. I say it's distressing. Everything's blurred out, so it's not gory. But maybe you can go and watch it and then make your own mind up. It's obviously not that clear cut either way, because otherwise there wouldn't have been an investigation.
I will say about manslaughter, I'm not entirely sure if you have to be directly charged with manslaughter or they can.
And what they do is they wait for a time.
Or if maybe when you're found not guilty of murder, maybe it could be lower.
Murder,
but then that's a whole new trial.
It's offences against the person act. It's a whole confusing thing.
Yeah, sure. No, I get it. I don't know enough about it either. And last question, I promise I've taken up too much of your time, but what do you think of there's another rally happening today, a Tommy Robinson rally. Tommy Robinson's obviously in prison. Probably don't need to ask, but what do you think of Tommy Robinson?
He's not a very nice man. If you're sort of a right-wing person who believes in sort of this anti-Western, anti-white cultural sort of thing, I would suggest that you could probably do better and promote ABRSM programs, promote all sorts of cultural programs, and not just sort of shout and scream at people.
Sure. I think I looked into Tommy Robinson a little bit before I came out, and because he got arrested as well, which is quite interesting. I think he's obviously very pro-Israel, but I haven't found anything from Tommy Robinson at all that's like actually racist. Like, I haven't heard him make a racist comment at all. So it's interesting. I mean, everyone's got their opinion about him. I respect you giving me your time, but I think of all the accusations you can level at him, I don't think he's racist. I really don't. Unless you know of some time where he said something racist, because I looked into it and I couldn't find anything. He's very pro-Israel. I know a lot of people don't like him for that. But I think if we're going to call people racist, we should call the right people racist, not just people we don't like.
I honestly don't even know that much directly about.
That's fine.
We just racially, but
he's obviously very anti-Islam. He is very anti-Islam. Yeah, for sure. He would tell you that, I think.
Traditionally, lots of people hide sort of racism behind anti-Islam, even anti-Jewish beliefs, even anti-Christian beliefs. Sure, sort of
anti-fascist protesters.
Like, there are quite conservative Christian countries in Africa compared to here, that you could probably make the exact same claims that these sorts of people make about very strict Muslim countries in Africa and the Middle East. So it's just sort of...
Yeah, I can imagine. Who's this directed at? Obviously fascist, but who's this directed at?
Tommy Robinson.
Tommy Robinson. Yeah. He's in prison, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's in prison. He's in prison right now. Yeah. What I saw that's quite interesting, it's just interesting to me because you said you're Jewish, or your family are Jewish, or Jewish history. I've not seen a single Israeli flag here, and I'm not equating being Jewish with Israel. But I have seen a lot at the other rally. I was there earlier. I went to take a look at it. So I find it quite interesting. I suppose you're worried about fascists, you're worried about Tommy Robinson. Yeah. But their crowd seems to be supportive of Israel and supportive of the Jewish people. Whereas a lot of people in this crowd, not everyone, but a lot of people in this crowd, maybe not this crowd specifically today, but a lot of the pro-Palestiners we've seen are not just pro-Palestine, some of them are anti-Jewish. We've seen that.
I mean, what happened is, 12 years ago, I discovered my Polish heritage.
Okay.
And part of my, one of my ancestors claimed political asylum in Whitechapel in 1891 because of the fallout from the January uprising 1864.
So asylum seeking, I suppose, is something that's really personal to you. Well, to you, yeah. Okay, so that's interesting. That maybe explains a little bit sort of why you're here. But yeah, I suppose it's tricky. I've seen a lot of people in the Palestine marches who are saying some very horrible things about Jews. Not so much anymore, but in the first protest.
I'm part of the Anti-Racism in Wales.
Yeah, sure.
And we had the Anti-Racism Day event in March. And I was wearing my politics scarf for you.
Yeah, and it was fine.
Representing my identity.
Yeah.
And quite a few Palestinian demonstrations had a little...
They didn't like it?
Didn't like it.
But how does that make you feel? Because you're obviously here marching alongside the sort of pro-Palestinians, but as a man with sort of Jewish ancestry, and when you express that Jewish ancestry, you put it quite delicately, but maybe some people weren't too happy.
One of the joys of being an activist for over 40 years, you learn to take things differently.
Okay,
without causing offence or the hate crime against you.
Yeah, got it. Show your sign, trans rights now.
Yeah.
What's brought you out today? Is that, I know there's a lot of signs going around, but is that specifically the cause that's most important to you to be here?
They're all important to me pretty much equally. I mean, the people who spread hate around society, dividing the class, dividing our communities, they're all coming for us all together. I chose this sign specifically because I have many dear friends who are trans, who are in the LGBT community. I'm showing solidarity. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What? I don't mean this is like this isn't a trick question. What rights for trans people do you want now? Like what rights don't they have?
Puberty blockers. That's a big thing. They just got
puberty blockers.
Yeah, that's probably the main one I think right now. So,
but they did have puberty blockers until recently.
Yeah, they've repealed them recently. Yeah.
And so a lot of people will argue the problem with puberty blockers is you're giving them to children, right? And what would you say to that?
Children get puberty blockers for many reasons, not just because they're trans, but because they might have like a different hormonal balance. It's not killing them if they. It's not doing anything. It's not harming them if they've like consented. I'm not like an adult anymore. I'm sixth form, so like this is like pretty important to me.
Got it. Yeah. And I suppose for me, so the puberty blockers is the one issue that I actually find a little bit contentious in the whole thing, because it involves children, and there's a lot of things we don't allow children to do: drink, smoke, have sex, play the lottery, join the army, all sorts of things. Do you think at the age of, because obviously they're puberty blockers, so these are people who are pre-pubescent or going through puberty, do you think that they can make a decision like that at that age? It's not a trick question.
They can. I have trans friends my age who have made those decisions. Yes.
But how old are you? You don't look 16. You're 16?
Yeah.
Okay, you look a little bit older. It's the beard. Okay, all right. But I suppose for puberty blockers, we're talking about like 11, 12, that sort of thing.
What are you filming for?
Just me and my YouTube channel.
What's your YouTube channel?
Why does it matter?
Because you're filming.
Yeah.
So are you right wing or?
Sorry?
Are you right wing?
No, I'm not right wing.
Can I see your YouTube channel then? No. Yeah, I wouldn't treat you. Won't show us.
That's fine.
If you're not happy to show us your YouTube channel,
then what? Then I'm not allowed to film according to YouTube. If I ask someone else if I can film them and they say yes, you're saying I'm not allowed.
I'll say he won't even show us who he's filming for, so he's probably right wing.
I just wanted to ask him how he felt about it. I wasn't antagonistic. I just said when we're talking about children, because for puberty blockers they are going to be children, right? Do you think they can make a decision? And a yes or no answer. He said yes. I didn't interrupt him.
But what I'm saying is, if you're not willing to even show us the footage when you put it on why would we speak?
If that's his view, why am I not allowed to record that?
I'm not saying you're
I don't have to show you anything.
Yeah, no, but if you're not going to, probably a reason behind that.
The young lad was very nice. In fact, all three of the people that spoke to me just now at the sort of counter Tommy Robinson protest, whatever it is, they were all very nice. I've got no grievances there. But then as I was inquiring as to whether puberty blockers were appropriate for children, some other guy came in and sort of shut the conversation down. It's a bit strange because if that's your view, you should be proud to say it. And that's obviously their view. So I don't really understand the logic behind, he was like, oh, are you right wing? Where are you going to put this? And I was just thinking, look, if that's your view, it doesn't matter where I put it. Yes, obviously, you know, it could be viewed by people who disagree, but that's fine, right? So I thought that encounter was a bit strange. Anyway, I'm going to go back to the other rally, see what's happening there, and yeah, see if we can find some more people to talk to. Well, I've come back to the Tommy Robinson protest, if you like, and it's definitely quieting down a little bit. It's like a 20-minute walk between the protests, and the police have deliberately blocked off the routes that would make it easy. I guess they don't want these two crowds mixing, which I totally understand. But yeah, a few people have left. I would say maybe a third of the people have left, although there's still speakers on the stage. But you know, it's been going on for a long time. A lot of people have got to get home, so it's perfectly understandable. But yeah, even now, the crowd here at the Tommy Robinson rally is definitely a lot larger than the crowd was at the counter demonstration.
You are the soldiers in this battle. You are not powerless. But who is willing to stand up and fight? I am recruiting community who are ready to stand and ready to fight and take their country back. It is time, friends, to wake up to the reality of what it is going to take to make our families and those who shed blood to once again be proud of us. It is time, friends, to pick a side. The communists, the Islamists, the Marxists, the leftists, these people try to silence you by smearing you. They use their fear and propaganda tactics to shut you up. It is now clear from our grassroots to our elderly, the vast majority now endorse our policies. The problem is they have never had a political voice brave enough to say it as it is. Well, today, fear no longer controls us. We control fear. I stand before you, asking you to join me in the new right and to stand for justice. To the political liberal elite, I say this: there will be no mercy, there will be no diplomacy, and there will be no surrender. Let me make it absolutely clear to the liberal elite traitors. UKIP is coming for you, and we will have justice for your crimes against the British people. Friends, let us talk solutions. Let us rid our nation of communist parasites, of the Islamists, of the migrants who are here to colonize, and of those who refuse to assimilate. And let us deport the 5 million people who do not deserve to be here. Friends, let us offer the British people a referendum on the death penalty. With your permission, I want to transform this great patriotic movement into real political action and change. Let us rebuild Britain for our children and our children's future.
Let us show the liberal establishment that we will not take any more, and we are not their slaves. Let us stand together and break free of the globalist shackles and show them that they dare not make the British people angry. To two-tier Keir, I say this: you can send your thugs to beat us. You can lock us up. You can martyr us as you have done our political prisoners, but you will never silence us. No two-tier Keir Starmer, you will bend the knee to the British people. If you lend us your votes and grant UKIP the opportunity, I will lead you, ladies and gentlemen. The new right rises, and as God is my witness, we will take our country back, and when we do, it will be for His glory. In 5 years' time, we vote our way out of this. Thank you.
So that speech, kind of, I'm never usually stuck for words. I don't think I've ever heard in my lifetime a political speech delivered with that much like passion and power, I suppose, is how I would put it. Very, very strong words. I actually only caught part of the speech, but I'll leave as much in as I can. The problem for me is whenever I think of people who deliver speeches from history with that much passion and power, it usually doesn't end well. So yeah, I don't even know it was the leader of UKIP. I don't even know the name of the leader of UKIP. I'll leave the speech in, and I will leave it to the viewer to make of that what they will. Yeah.